Hey everybody, it's Tanya here. I've just been doing a little bit of work putting together my session for the It's Time to Bloom Urban Retreat on the 13th of October. And I thought I would share a little snippet with you so you have an idea of what to expect on the day and what I'll be covering, because I realized this isn't something that is very common. I am coming at this session from an astrology viewpoint, in that let me start sharing my screen with you. So this is a birth chart. This is what it looks like. Everybody has one of these, and it will look different depending on who you are and the time and day and where you were born, etc. But basically, everything in here tells a story about your personality and who you are and what you bring to this world, and the gifts that you possess, and maybe some challenges and things that you need to work with. So essentially, on the outside, we've got all the signs of the zodiac. We have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So we all have a little bit of every sign in us. Some, this person over here obviously has a little bit more Capricorn in them than, say, Taurus, but Taurus still has an influence on this person in a particular way. And then in the middle of the chart, we have all the planets, and that's where they were in the sky at the time that this person was born. And the planets represent a different part of our personality. So we have the sun, which is the most popular part of astrology. Some people call it your star sign, sun sign. It's basically the gifts and talents that you're here to develop in this lifetime. So this person is developing the gifts and talents of Virgo, which is all about being of service, taking care of themselves. It's a bit of an earth mother as well. It's healing. It's all these beautiful things. We've just been in Virgo season, so it's all about getting stuff done and being quite grounded as well. So that's what this person is here to develop. You also have your moon. So your moon is your emotional world and what you need to feel safe and secure on an emotional level. So for this person, it's in Capricorn. So they need, the Capricorn is all about, rising to the top, ambition, taking the steps forward to get to where you want to go, to climb that mountain. So it needs to feel like it's supported emotionally from the people around them and within themselves to achieve their goals. And then we have Mercury, which is communication, how we learn, how we speak to others, how we express ourselves essentially on different levels. And then Mars is all about our drive and assertion, how it's our warrior spirit, it's how we get things done, and it's our masculine energy. And then we have our beautiful feminine energy in the form of Venus. So she's very yin. She's all about relationships, receiving your values and desires. And yet Venus is concerned with relationships as well, and how we show up in our relationships and what we need from them. And then we've got all the other outer planets, which they move a lot slower through the sky, so they don't have as much impact on our core personality traits, but they do have some influence there too. But yeah, it's just these key personal planets are really, really important to who we are. And if we look at Mercury, Mars and Venus, the work that we do with those planets really help our sun to shine. So once we get clear on our desires, we can harness the energy of Mars to help us take the steps to go forth and shine in the world. So wherever the planets fall in your chart, they wear the costume of the sign that they're in. So for instance, a Venus in Leo wears a very different costume to a Venus in Cancer, and I'll go into that briefly in a moment. So I mentioned already that Venus is the feminine archetype of attraction, beauty, and love. And she is the archetype that we'll be working with on the urban retreat. So at a core level, like for me, I really see Venus as representing our values and our self-worth. So if we don't feel good about ourselves and we have low self-esteem, then we won't attract the right relationships for us. We'll keep attracting people who make us feel bad about ourselves. We won't attract the money that we deserve because we don't feel valuable, so we don't go ahead and ask for that pay rise because we don't feel like we deserve it. She's also about beauty, what we perceive as beautiful, and she's very sensual. It's about enjoying the good things in life. Venus really enjoys, the good food, the good wine. She's very sensual and magnetic. And so when you are connected to your own personal Venus energy, whichever costume she's wearing for you in your birth chart, you can attract what you desire with ease because you know your values. You are doing the things that help you improve your self-worth. But when you are disconnected from your Venus energy, when you're trying to be like somebody else, when you're trying to act in a way that's not true for you, or your self-worth is very low, things can sort of show up in a shadow way, in that you can be manipulative or gossipy, or maybe you're obsessed with your appearance or you completely neglect your appearance. There's many different elements to Venus, which we'll go through in more detail on the day. She's a very interesting archetype, and there's some very interesting myths about Venus and Aphrodite, who's they're interchangeable. Sometimes these archetypes have different names depending on whether it's Roman or Greek mythology that we're talking about. But yeah, it's something that it's really interesting to look at. So if we're looking at the signs just in general, we've got our fire signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And these signs are all about creative potential and energy and passion and excitement. And if you have your Venus in one of these signs, you value things that fill you up with energy. You like to see the potential in things and go after the new. You like to be creative and create new things. And when perhaps you might not have an opportunity in your life to do that. So, for instance, maybe the job you're doing isn't very creative. It's just going in and doing the same thing day after day after day. Then your Venus side of you will just feel a little bit bored and will start to try and create a bit of drama in the world because you need that excitement. So you might find that people who are very bored in their jobs like to create a bit of office drama. Whereas if they were to harness that energy into something that was a little bit more purposeful, like maybe they were, working on a creative project, perhaps outside of work, they wouldn't have that need to express their drama so much. So it's things like that we'll be looking at during the day on the urban retreat. And just as a celeb example, we've got Nicole Kidman here. So she has her Venus in Leo. So that's up here for her, which is also in her 10th house of career. And people who have their Venus in Leo, and people who are Leos in general, or have a prominent Leo representation in their chart, they're very creative and playful, and they have a lot of warmth to them, and very, very loyal. Leo is, the king of the jungle. and so they like to be respected. And I've always felt that Nicole Kidman, she has this very regal look about her all the time. And if you think of the lion as well, like the lion having this amazing mane, like if you see her hairstyle that she had when she was younger, it's very, it's this very amazing, crazy curly mane. Hair is very important to Leos, and she's changed her hairstyle a lot over the years, but she always has, like, her hair is always on point in every photo that you see of her. And the fire as well. There's also a lot of redheads who have their Venus in a fire sign. Julianne Moore, she's a redhead. She has her Venus in Leo as well. And a lot of actors particularly have a prominent Leo because they like to play and put on different characters and express themselves in different ways. Again, if we look at just quickly Nicole's chart, she has her rising sign in Scorpio, which is a very guarded sign. So I feel like she can come across as a bit of an ice queen, and that would be the Scorpio element in her chart. But I feel like once you got to know her and once she trusted you, then she would be very playful and warm and loyal. I mean, if you look at her relationships that she's been in a number of long-term relationships, so that demonstrates her loyalty there. If we go to the next lot of signs, the earth signs, we've got Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and they're all about what's real and tangible. So the fire signs seed our ideas, and then the earth signs help us bring them down and get a bit practical about things. So someone who has their Venus in an earth sign, they want things that are tangible. They want to have beautiful things around them. They want to see their wealth. They're all about sensation. So especially someone who either has the Venus in Taurus, it's all about, the good things in life. That's where Venus becomes very sensual and wants to attract that security, because earth signs are all about the here and now and security and being practical. So if we look at Venus in Capricorn, it really has that CEO archetype. And this is Elizabeth Arden, who had, she started the huge company, a cosmetic company. So her Venus is here in Capricorn. She's also got the Capricorn sun. And again, it's in her 10th house of career. So you can really see how she became known for beauty, which is one of Venus's qualities, but she did that in a very ambitious, strategic way, and especially, when she was born in the late 1800s and I think died in 66. So the time period that she was building her empire was in a period where women really seen as being successful in business. She was a huge pioneer, and that would have been really strengthened by all that Capricorn energy that she has with her Venus. Also, Helena Rubinstein, another cosmetic giant, she had her Venus in Capricorn. So you can see, their values of feminine beauty, classic beauty, creating that self-worth for themselves, using those Capricorn traits of being the CEO, like really helped these women shine. And then the next lot of signs are the air signs. So Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And the air signs operate on a mental level. So people who have their Venus in an air sign, they really value ideas and communication and discussion. Personally, I have my Venus in Aquarius, which is a very futuristic, forward-thinking sign, very much about the collective as well. So things for the rest of humanity, which is why I really enjoy working with groups of people. I enjoy one-on-one, but groups of people it's really special because I like to bring people together to learn new things. And also Aquarius being a little bit futuristic, a bit ahead of the time. It's probably why I'm running these workshops on astrology when they're not really well known right now. I find I tend to do that. Like I'll find an artist that I like, and then a few months later they become quite popular. Even when I first started coaching, coaching wasn't really that well known as a profession or a thing that people did, and now it seems to be more mainstream. So it's always been that little bit ahead of the curve there. And also with style as well, Aquarius is wanting to do things a little bit differently. I used to change my hairstyle constantly. So expressing my Venus idea of beauty in many different ways and trying out different styles. Even now, I have short hair, which is kind of against your traditional feminine traits of women having long hair. So it's my Venus in Aquarius coming out and expressing itself in my appearance. the way I dress, etc. And also too, in my relationships, I like to connect with people on a mental level. So if somebody really tickles my fancy in my mind, then I want to spend time with them. I'm not about, dating someone because they just have money. If they're a boring person and they're wealthy, I don't want to spend my time with them. So those are the air signs. And if we look at the example here, Beyonce, she has her Venus in Libra. Libra is all about harmony, elegance, diplomacy. Definitely feel like Beyonce always holds herself with grace in the public eye. You never hear about her having any cat fights with people. Probably that one time was when the original lineup of Destiny's Child changed, but apart from that, like, you don't see her bitching about others. She's always got this really, this really graceful look about her, and her style as well. She expresses herself in that real feminine, strong way, and she actually has her Venus on her ascendant, so she meets the world as a Libra with all that harmony and grace, and she also has that extra element of Venus being on there. So that amazing feminine strength that she shows to the world. And you can see that, hear it in her music, in the songs that she writes, and in the causes that she supports. She's all about feminine empowerment, and that is really much all her Libra in Venus work here as she comes out into the world. And also Libra is all about, it's the relationship sign. So, you can see that she really wants to build strong relationships over time, and she has a really strong sense of her self-worth. So think back to a story of how apparently she made Jay-Z really, really work before she started dating him. She didn't just go, hey, you're Jay-Z, I'm going to date you. She made him prove himself to her because she had such a strong sense of her own femininity and self-worth and value in that. And I think as well, that's part of her success as well. She, I don't think she's the type of person who takes shit from others, because she knows what she's worth and her value and what she brings to the world. And then finally, we have the water signs. So there's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. These signs are, they feel their way through life. They're very instinctual and very sensitive, and they're tapped into their emotions. So, sometimes an air sign can be a bit aloof and a bit cold. I can attest to that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that was a little bit aloof. I didn't quite consider that person's feelings, and I've hurt the feelings of someone who has say their Venus in Cancer, and they're very, very sensitive, and so when you know the way that you work, and you know that your shadow traits as well, you can kind of learn to talk to other people in a way, and again strengthen your relationships in that way. We've got Angelina Jolie, who has her Venus in Cancer. Again, like Beyonce, it's right on her ascendant. So she really approaches the world with the qualities of Cancer. So she's very nurturing, motherly, and you can see that she's, in a way, trying to mother the world. She adopted children from third world countries. Again, that would relate to her sun in her 11th house, which is all about humanitarian issues and groups and healing the collective. So she's really doing this work for herself. And yet she is trying to protect the world as well from issues like she was doing work with landmines and healing those collective wounds as well. So she's like, for her values are to take care of people and to take care of others. And if she wasn't doing that, then she, she wouldn't be feeling happy in herself. So it is this really interesting thing of like, once you know what you value and and what you desire in your life, you can start to put those elements into the life that you have. And yeah, you can start to, generally when you're doing the things that you love and you know what you love, then naturally you start to feel, you know, better in yourself. You know what you're working towards, because it's less kind of out there, airy-fairy. Sometimes it can be really hard to hone in on what you desire just by thinking about it. But when you look at the qualities that you're expressing, it can be a lot easier to start to hone in on what you desire. So our urban retreat that Tash and I are running is on the 13th of October in Ascot Vale. So I will take you through this exercise in more detail, and I'll run through all the other signs as well. I've only done 4 out of 12 today. And then you can really look at your Venus and what you value, desire, how you are in relationships, and start to have a dialogue with yourself about whether you're using this in your life and how you're expressing it, expressing yourself. And then Tash will take you through a session on charting your own success, so you can take the work that you did in the morning session and start to build the steps towards what your next steps are in life, whether that's with your career, motherhood, whether you're going to go travel, whatever it is that you want to do in your life. It's harnessing all of those different qualities. And then we'll have a beautiful yoga session at the end of the day, or after Tasha's session, and then at the end of the day we're doing a special ritual, and we've got some other lovely treats and gifts in store for you during the day, as well as delicious food from a local caterer. And I hope you come along and have a lot of fun with this, because we're very excited to run this with you. So you can get your tickets through the link in the bio, and I'll see you on the 13th of October. Bye.